Hana Park's last words echoed in Kane's mind as he stood over the bleeding informant. If they take me, Kane. Burned Seoul to the ground. Her mother had called him a savage. Seoul had called him an outsider. Ji-hoon had called him dead. But Kane Okoye, the Nigerian who'd conquered Seoul's underworld, was about to show them what a savage really looked like. "You have 10 seconds, he said in flawless Korean, to tell me where she is, or I make sure your children ask their mother why Daddy's funeral was closed casket." The informant's lips trembled. Blood pooled beneath him on the concrete floor. Kane's designer suit was spotless, except for a single drop of red on his cuff. He didn't blink, didn't move. His dark eyes held the kind of cold that made grown men confess sins they hadn't committed yet. 7, Kane continued, his Nigerian accent making each syllable feel heavier. 6. Dongdaemun? The man screamed. The old textile warehouse near Dongdaemun? That's where boss Ji-hoon took her. Please, I told you everything. Kane pulled out his phone. His men would have Hana within the hour. He looked down at the informant one last time. You chose the wrong side, but you chose correctly just now. He walked toward the exit, his footsteps echoing. Get him to a hospital. Make sure he lives to regret working for Ji-hoon. But this moment, this warehouse, this desperate hunt across Seoul for the woman he loved, it didn't start here. It started 3 months ago, in a lounge where Kane Okoye wasn't even supposed to be. 3 months earlier, Kane Okoye wasn't supposed to be in Seoul at all. Lagos had been his kingdom, the streets of Victoria Island, his empire. But business brought him to Korea, a land where his black skin made him visible in ways that were both dangerous and strategic. In the underworld, visibility meant power if you knew how to wield it. And Kane knew. The Red Phoenix Lounge was packed that Friday night when Kane first saw her. Hana Park sat in the VIP section, her porcelain skin glowing under red lights, her eyes tired from pretending to enjoy the company of men who talked about money and power like they invented both. She was the daughter of a disgraced politician, selling her presence to Seoul's elite to survive. Kane watched her from across the room, nursing his whiskey, calculating. That's Hana Park, his associate whispered in Igbo. Untouchable. Ji-hoon Park has claimed her. Kane's jaw tightened. Ji-hoon Park. The name alone made Seoul's underworld tremble. The Korean Mafia boss controlled half the city's illegal trade, and rumors said he was obsessed with Hana, his distant cousin, a woman he'd wanted since they were teenagers. Claimed? Kane repeated, his voice low. She looks miserable. She has no choice. Her father owes Ji-hoon money. Millions. She's paying the debt with her company. Kane set down his glass. Choice. The word tasted bitter. He knew what it meant to have your choices stolen. Lagos had taught him that before he became the man who stole choices from others. He stood, adjusting his black suit, and walked directly to Hana's table. The bodyguards moved to stop him, but something in Kane's eyes made them hesitate. The entire VIP section fell silent. A black man approaching Ji-hoon's woman was suicide. Everyone knew it. You look like you need better company, Kane said in Korean, extending his hand to Hana. Hana looked up, startled, her dark eyes meeting his. For 3 seconds, she said nothing. The lounge held its breath. Then she placed her hand in his. I've been waiting for someone to notice, she replied. That single moment changed everything. A Nigerian mafia boss and a Korean woman trapped by tradition. If you're already hooked by Kane and Hana's story, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for Afro-Korean Veil. Drop a comment telling me if you think their love can survive what's coming. Smash that like button because this story's about to get intense. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. That night changed everything. They talked until dawn in a private room Kane rented, guarded by his men. Hana spoke about Seoul's suffocating expectations, about being Korean royalty trapped in golden chains. Kane told her about Lagos, about building an empire from nothing, about being underestimated because of his skin until he made people fear the color black. "Why are you really in Seoul?" Hana asked as sunrise painted the windows orange. Kane leaned forward. "I came to expand my business. Now I'm staying to dismantle Ji-hoon's." "You'll die trying," she whispered. "Then I'll die knowing I tried to free you first." Kane meant every word, because in that moment, looking at Hana in the orange glow of Seoul's sunrise, he realized something that terrified him more than any gun, any rival, any threat he'd ever faced. He was falling in love with a woman who belonged to a world that would never accept him, a woman whose freedom would cost him everything he'd built. But Kane Okoye had never walked away from a fight, and he wasn't about to start now. Ji-hoon heard about that night within hours. He arrived at Hana's apartment the next evening with 12 men, his handsome face twisted with rage. Kane was already there, sitting on her couch like he owned it, drinking tea Hana had prepared. The audacity made Ji-hoon's blood boil. "Get out," Ji-hoon said in Korean, his voice dangerously quiet. "Before I forget, we're civilized men." Kane stood slowly, his 6'3" frame making the room feel smaller. Civilized men don't trap women in debt prisons. You call yourself Korean royalty? You're just another coward hiding behind tradition. Ji-hoon lunged. His men moved. But Kane's bodyguards were faster, weapons drawn, the clicking of safeties releasing, filling the apartment. Hana stepped between them, her voice sharp. "Stop. Both of you. This is my home." Ji-hoon's eyes never left Kane. "You think, because you're African, because you're different, she'll choose you? Seoul will eat you alive. You don't understand our culture, our ways. You're a foreigner playing games you can't win." Kane smiled, cold and certain. "Watch me." The words hung in the air like a declaration of war. Because that's exactly what it was. Two men from different worlds, fighting for the heart of one woman. And Seoul, ancient and unforgiving, would be their battleground. What Kane didn't know then, what neither of them knew, was that this war would cost more than territory or pride. It would cost blood, betrayal, and everything they thought they knew about love. Ji-hoon walked to the door, his men following. He paused, looking back at Hana with something that might have been genuine pain. "You're making a mistake," he said softly. "When this African destroys you, when Seoul turns its back on you, when your mother disowns you, remember that I warned you. I tried to protect you." "You tried to own me," Hana replied, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. "There's a difference." Ji-hoon left, but Kane saw the look in his eyes. This wasn't over. This was just beginning. The rivalry exploded across Seoul's underworld. Kane began targeting Ji-hoon's operations, carefully, strategically, using his Nigerian connections to undercut Korean suppliers. Ji-hoon retaliated by attacking Kane's shipments, burning his warehouses, spreading rumors that the Nigerian was a savage, a criminal who would corrupt Korea with his African ways. The racism was intentional, designed to turn public opinion and underworld alliances against Kane. But Kane was prepared. He'd faced racism all his life. In Lagos, for not being connected enough. In London, for being too African. In Seoul, for being black in a homogeneous society. He used it. Every insult became fuel, Every closed door became a window he smashed through. And Hana saw all of it. "My mother wants to meet you," Hana said one night as they walked along the Han River, his bodyguards trailing at a distance. Kane stopped walking. "Why?" "Because I told her I'm in love with you." The world tilted. Kane had expected many things, but not this. Not yet. Not from a woman who could have anyone in Seoul. "Hana, your mother will never accept me. You know that." "I know," Hana replied, her eyes fierce. "But I don't care anymore. I spent my whole life being the perfect Korean daughter. Going to the right schools, dating the right men, smiling when I wanted to scream. You make me feel alive, Kane. You make me feel like my choices matter." Kane pulled her close, his heart pounding against his ribs. "Then we do this right. I'll meet your mother. I'll show her I'm not the monster Seoul says I am." Hana's mother, Mrs. Park, lived in a traditional Hanok in Bukchon village, surrounded by ancestral tablets and the weight of 500 years of Korean heritage. When Kane arrived, dressed in his finest suit, carrying expensive gifts, chosen by Hana, Mrs. Park looked at him like he was a plague. "You will sit in," she said in Korean, not offering tea. Kane sat on the floor cushion, his long legs folding uncomfortably. Hana sat beside him, her hand finding his under the table. Mrs. Park's eyes caught the gesture, and her jaw tightened. "My daughter tells me you are a businessman," Mrs. Park began, her tone making it clear she knew exactly what kind of business. "Yes, ma'am," Kane replied respectfully. "I run import-export operations between Africa and Asia." "Import-export," Mrs. Park repeated, her voice dripping with disdain. "You mean drugs, violence, the underworld filth that destroys families?" She leaned forward. "Do you know what it means to be Korean? To carry the blood of scholars, warriors, kings? My daughter's lineage goes back to the Joseon dynasty. What do you bring to her except danger and shame?" Kane felt Hana's hand tighten around his. He kept his voice steady. "I bring her respect, freedom, a choice to live her life on her terms, not yours or Ji-hoon's." Mrs. Park's face flushed red. "Ji-hoon is family. He is Korean. He understands our culture, our values. You are African. You know nothing of our ways. You think love is enough? Love is a luxury for people who don't have to worry about society's judgment, about family honor. My daughter chooses you, and she becomes an outcast. No Korean man will respect her. No Korean family will accept her children." "Mother, stop," Hana said, her voice breaking. But Mrs. Park wasn't finished. She turned to Kane, her eyes cold. "You say you want to free her? Then prove it. Leave Seoul. Leave my daughter alone. That is true love. Sacrifice." Kane stood, his massive frame towering over the small room. "With respect, Mrs. Park, you don't get to define love for your daughter anymore. She's not property. She's not a bargaining chip. And I'm not leaving." The meeting ended with Mrs. Park screaming in Korean, calling Kane a savage, a colonizer, a devil who would destroy her daughter's life. Hana left with him, tears streaming down her face, her relationship with her mother shattered. In the car, Kane held her as she sobbed. "She'll never accept us," Hana cried. "Seoul will never accept us." Kane lifted her chin. "Then we build our own Seoul, our own world, you and me." Ji-hoon watched it all with calculating eyes. If he couldn't win Hana with love, he'd win with leverage. He dug into Kane's past, hiring investigators, paying off informants. What he found was explosive. Kane's empire wasn't built on import-export alone. 3 years ago, Kane had been involved in an operation that went wrong in Lagos, resulting in civilian deaths. The Nigerian government had covered it up, But Ji-hoon had the evidence. He presented it to Hana one afternoon at a cafe, sliding the folder across the table. "Your African prince has blood on his hands. Innocent blood. Women. Children." Hana's hands trembled as she opened the folder. Photos, documents, witness statements. Her face went pale. "No." "Ask him," Ji-hoon said softly. "Ask Kane if he's the hero you think he is, or if he's exactly what your mother fears. A dangerous man who destroys everything he touches." That night, Hana confronted Kane in his penthouse. Lagos, 3 years ago, an operation that killed 17 people. "Tell me Ji-hoon is lying." Kane's face went stone cold. "He's not lying." The words broke her. "You killed innocent people?" "It was a rescue mission," Kane said, his voice heavy. "Boko Haram had kidnapped students from a village. My men and I went in to extract them. The terrorists used the students as shields. We had seconds to make a choice. Save 20 students or let them all die. We fired. 17 terrorists died. But 3 students caught in the crossfire didn't make it." His voice cracked. "I see their faces every night, Hana. Every single night." Hana sank into a chair, her mind spinning. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I'm not proud of it. Because I carry that guilt like a stone around my neck. Because I didn't want you to look at me the way you're looking at me now." "How am I looking at you?" she whispered. "Like I'm a monster?" Hana stood and walked to him, her eyes filled with tears. "You're not a monster, Kane. But you're also not perfect. Neither am I. Neither is anyone in this city." She took his hands. "Ji-hoon wanted me to leave you. He thought this would break us." "Will it?" Kane asked, his voice vulnerable in a way she'd never heard. "No," Hana said firmly. "But no more secrets. If we do this, we do it honestly. All of it." Ji-hoon's revelation backfired. Instead of pushing Hana away from Kane, it bonded them deeper. Enraged, Ji-hoon escalated. He began spreading the story across Seoul, framing Kane as a war criminal, a savage African who brought violence to peaceful Korea. Korean media picked it up. Protests formed outside Kane's businesses. His partners began pulling out, afraid of association. Kane's response was surgical. He called in favors from Lagos, from Accra, from Nairobi. African businessmen who'd been trying to break into the Korean market for years. Together, they formed an alliance that challenged Ji-hoon's monopoly on Seoul's ports. Kane wasn't just fighting for Hana anymore. He was fighting for every African entrepreneur who'd been shut out of Asian markets because of their skin color. The battle reached its peak during the annual Seoul Underworld Summit, a gathering of the city's most powerful criminals disguised as a charity gala. Both Kane and Ji-hoon attended, their respective allies flanking them. Hana came as Kane's date, wearing a stunning red dress that announced her choice to the entire room. The whispers were immediate, scandalous, delicious. Ji-hoon approached them during dinner, his smile poison. "Enjoying the evening?" "Immensely," Kane replied, his arm around Hana's waist. "You know, Kane, I admire your persistence, but you've made a critical mistake." Ji-hoon leaned in. "You think this is about business, about territory. It's not. It's about identity. You'll always be African in Korea, always an outsider, always the villain in their story. Hana will suffer for choosing you. Her children will suffer. Is your pride worth that?" Kane stood, his height forcing Ji-hoon to look up. "My pride? This was never about pride. This is about love. Something you wouldn't recognize if it burned your entire organization to the ground." "Then let's see how much you love her," Ji-hoon hissed. "Because I'm taking everything from you, your business, your reputation, your safety. And when you have nothing left, We'll see if she still looks at you the same way. The summit ended with both sides on the brink of open war. Kane's men and Ji-hoon's men circled each other like wolves, waiting for the first shot. But Kane was smarter. He'd been preparing for this moment since the day he met Hana. He had evidence of Ji-hoon's operations, gathered meticulously over months. Trafficking routes, money laundering schemes, connections to corrupt politicians. And he had something else. A recording of Ji-hoon admitting to orchestrating the debt trap that enslaved Hana's father. Kane released everything to the authorities and the press simultaneously. The scandal rocked Seoul. Ji-hoon's empire began crumbling overnight. Allies turned. Politicians distanced themselves. Bank accounts froze. The untouchable Korean Mafia boss was suddenly very touchable. Ji-hoon cornered Kane at an abandoned construction site on the outskirts of Seoul, his remaining loyal men surrounding the Nigerian boss. Hana had been taken as leverage, held in a warehouse nearby. Kane came alone, as demanded, but his eyes betrayed no fear. "You destroyed me," Ji-hoon said, his voice shaking with rage. "Everything I built, everything my family built for generations." "You destroyed yourself," Kane replied calmly. "I just showed Seoul who you really are. Give me Hana back, and I'll let you leave Korea alive." Kane laughed, the sound echoing across the empty construction zone. "You think you're in a position to negotiate? Your men are surrounded. Korean police are 3 minutes out. And Hana." He pulled out his phone, showing a live feed. Hana was safe, rescued by Kane's team an hour ago. "She's already free." Ji-hoon's face contorted. He pulled a gun, hands trembling. "You took everything from me, my power, my reputation, the woman I loved. What do I have left?" "Your life," Kane said quietly. "Make better choices with it." For a long moment, they stood there. Two men from different worlds who collided over the heart of one woman. Then Ji-hoon lowered the gun, his shoulders sagging. Police sirens wailed in the distance. His men scattered. Ji-hoon looked at Kane one last time, defeat heavy in his eyes. "She'll never be fully accepted here," Ji-hoon said. "Not with you. Korea doesn't forgive women who choose outsiders." "Then we'll change Korea," Kane replied. "One mind at a time." Ji-hoon was arrested that night on multiple charges. His empire dissolved. Some said he'd be in prison for 20 years. Others said he'd disappear into witness protection. Either way, his reign over Seoul's underworld was finished. 3 months later, Kane stood in a private garden overlooking Seoul, Hana beside him, their fingers intertwined. Mrs. Park had slowly begun speaking to Hana again, the relationship fragile but healing. She'd even acknowledged Kane at a recent family dinner, though her words were few and her smiles forced. Progress came in inches, not miles. "Do you ever regret it?" Kane asked Hana as the sun set over the city. "Choosing me, the scandal, the judgment, your mother's pain." Hana turned to him, her eyes clear and certain. "Every choice has a cost, Kane. The question is whether the cost is worth it." She placed his hand over her heart. "You are worth it. Every whisper, every stare, every closed door. Because you see me. The real me. Not the Korean daughter. Not the perfect woman. Just me." Kane pulled her close, breathing in the scent of her hair, the reality of her presence. "I spent my whole life fighting to be seen as more than my skin color, more than where I come from. You're the first person who looked past all that and saw just me too." They stood there as Seoul's lights flickered to life below them. Two people from opposite sides of the world who'd built their own world in between. It wouldn't be easy. Society's judgment didn't disappear overnight. Mrs. Park's acceptance would take years, maybe decades. Some Korean families still whispered about Hana's choice. Some African friends questioned Kane's decision to stay in a country that had shown him so much racism. But love, real love, wasn't about easy. It was about choosing someone every single day, even when the world said you shouldn't. It was about building bridges across cultures, across colors, across oceans of difference. Kane and Hana had chosen each other. And in that choice, they'd found something Seoul's underworld couldn't touch, and Ji-hoon's obsession couldn't destroy. Freedom. That's the end of Kane and Hana's story. But before you go, I need to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me. Would you have chosen Kane or Ji-hoon? Do you think Hana's mother will ever fully accept their relationship? Could you fall in love with someone from a completely different culture if it meant facing Seoul's judgment? And what do you think happened to Ji-hoon in prison? Let me know your thoughts below. If this story had you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button. Subscribe to Afro-Korean Veil for more intense romance stories that cross cultures and break boundaries. Share this video with someone who needs a good love story today. Hit the notification bell so you never miss our next upload. I'll see you in the next story. Stay blessed.